So should we go ahead and get started? Yes. So my name is Marianne Bronner. I'm a faculty member in BBE, and I'm very pleased to introduce Marty Nemko, who is my good friend. I met him about 2 years ago. Marty called me up. I'm director of the Beckman Institute, and he called me up and he said, "Do you have any unmet needs?" And he just wanted to help CalTech. He's an incredibly generous person, and it has been my great pleasure to get to know him. But it turns out that in his day job is as a career counselor, and he's really wonderful at giving advice to people. And the reason he's here, this is actually a repeat performance, because everyone enjoyed hearing him and profiting from his great knowledge. And I have to say that, I've been impressed by finding out the things that Marty's done. He's been on NPR for a couple decades, giving career advice and having his own show. And so basically he's here because he really cares about people like us, and wants to give you guys advice. So Marty, take it away.
Great job. Thank you so much. That was really good. I wish my mother would hear that.
I'm so proud.
Exactly. Every speaker, probably since the caveman days, has said, "I'm honored to be here," right? I could just see the picture of this cave and the speaker getting in and saying, "It's my pleasure to be here." But it really is. Because something that Marianne intimated was that I care about you people. I care about all people, but I particularly care about you people for a couple of reasons. Number one, I'm a techno-optimist. While technology can be used for ill as well as for good, yet I believe the world will most likely have its problem solved, whether it be energy or violence or diseases. It will not come directly probably from you, but you will lay the foundation. That makes you not so easily fundable. And yet you're willing to do it and not be rich, to lay the foundations for maybe making a difference or simply to have fun in a very nice way. It's a nice kind of fun. In some ways, I feel like I'm your people. If I was starting again, I really think I would have become a geneticist and focusing on the biological basis of reasoning. That's my core. We all have our thing, but that would be my thing. So that is by way of my saying it really is an honor to be talking with you. I think for the fun, I wasn't planning to start with this, but you see this? This is my first tip of the day. It's a secret weapon. I've had the privilege, or should I say torture, to look outside when somebody's dropping. Are they going to descend on this meeting for next time down on the note? I've attended many scientific conferences, and I am dispirited at the low quality of presentations. Some simply even read their damn papers aloud, which of course puts us to sleep. If all they were trying to do is read their paper, they could have just emailed a handout to the conference attendees. You were concerned about employability appropriately. We're all smart, but there's a hell of a lot of smart people from CalTech and other smart places with smart people who don't get good jobs. One of the ways to differentiate yourself from those myriad people who are smart and can come from designer label institutions. Oh, CalTech. I'm sure your mothers and your fathers love, oh, they're CalTech. But there's still a lot of people who went to MIT, Princeton, Yale, Harvard, CalTech, and they just aren't enough good paying jobs. One of the ways, there are two ways that you can differentiate yourself and make you hireable and have fun. One is to learn how to be a great speaker. I'm not asking you to be Marty Nemko. I'm intense. I'm this New York Jewish kind of funny guy. Do not be me. Be you, but do not read or paraphrase or try to memorize your talks. That will not differentiate you from the masses of other smart, well-educated people. If you wish, script to begin with at home, and then reduce it to this, which forces you to, I'm not even looking at this. because I'm prepared. I'm not saying don't be prepared. I am prepared for everything I do. But I'm here to try to create connection with you. That's going to make you stand out compared with the million others who would like a good job. Because that not only makes you memorable, but it makes you more pleasant to be with. You want to be the person that they say, I'd like her to be in my lab. She's communicative, she's playful in her way, whatever your way is. So tip one for getting hired, learn to be a good speaker. And the best way to learn, take the topic right now you know the most about. I don't mean this minute. Pretend that you were given 2 minutes at the big NIH conference. Turn on your phone, use voice memos, the app. Pretend you want to be, anybody object to my cursing? I tend to curse. You want to be fucking awesome. You want to be fucking awesome. Pretend that you're going to talk for 2 minutes about, say, your research, but in a way that's fucking awesome. In your privacy of your own room. Then play it back, but ask yourself, is this the kind of presentation that would make a PI say, I want her or him in my lab? And if it's not, do it again. Play, experiment. It's a series of experiments to find your voice. That's the most, and then once you feel you've done a pretty good job, ask your most trusted friend, whether it be a colleague or a boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, to give you honest feedback. How interesting am I? How clear am I? Now, normally I'm a very fast talking to you up to, but notice I'm not talking fast. I've learned that you've got to talk slow, not just so that people can understand you, but so that people can process. They need that half second to incorporate it into their life. We've all attended talks where a day later we forgot what the hell we learned. So be yourself, but be a little bit, smart people talk fast. Be a little slower. Tip one of the day. Reduce it to this, which will keep you from being tempted to even read it. And do not use PowerPoint. The purpose of a connection, of a in-person talk, is to create connection, inspiration. If you're using a PowerPoint screen, they're staring at the screen. They can't connect with you. You, especially at your stage in your life, you want to be hired. Nobody gets hired by looking at slides.
Marty, we all use slides. I'm sorry to say.
Okay, what can I say? Fine. Make your aspiration then to not. If you want to, better to say, I will give you a handout with my slides. After all, I'll tell you the link afterwards. But make the talk about connection. And again, you don't have to always just agree with me. Think of what I'm saying as a buffet. You know, we don't all eat the anchovies. Eat the ones you like and toss out the rest. I have no investment in your following my advice. I only have your investment in, my only investment is in your considering my ideas. Okay, moving on. I told you that I sometimes write an essay in preparation as a way of clarifying, crystallizing my thoughts. So I wrote one in preparation. I never, ever give the same talk twice. Even though just 2 weeks ago I was at MIT. You saw, this is very different, right?
Very, yeah.
I write an essay, putting myself, this is a very important point. I put myself in the shoes of my audience. My audience at MIT was a combination of graduate students, postdocs, and research scientists. You are all postdocs. So all I did, the first thing I did is I sat and I put myself in the shoes of a postdoc at CalTech. And I said, what the hell do they really want to hear from me? That is not obvious, that is important, that couldn't as well be just described in an email. It had to be somewhat inspirational, but also no nonsense practical too. And I sat and I then wrote this little tiny essay, maybe 400 words, to crystallize my thoughts. And then I reduced it to this. So the essay, I end up calling It Ain't Easy Being a Postdoc. People think, oh, you're at CalTech, you're a postdoc, you've got it made. We all know that that's not true. And there's so much ambiguity. How much should you do what your PI wants you to? How much should you disagree? How bold should you be versus you can make a career out of replication. Replicate previously with just a tiny little change, and you'll do fine, and you'll make your modest salary, and you'll retire and be forgotten with the rest. But being bold, you could be an utter failure and not get a grant ever again, and now you're stuck. The ambiguity of your fields, because you are at the cutting edge. There's no clear research project that's clearly the right one. That's hard. We tend to be stressed by ambiguity. Stressed by knowing, did we do the right thing? Did I piss off my PI? Was I too much of a toady? Was I agreeing too much? It's not easy being a postdoc. And it's not easy facing the likelihood that even if you get the vaunted job as an assistant professor at a good university and you get to run your own lab and have your own graduate students and postdoc slaves, there's no guarantee you're going to get grants. Even people from CalTech and Princeton and Yale and Harvard and Stanford and MIT, they spend so much time writing the damn grants and they don't always get them. It's ambiguity, it's hard, and your pay is shit. Compared to people in industry, pretty shitty. Not easy being a postdoc. How many of you are still eating ramen? Top ramen. I don't mean the expensive yuppie ramen. I'm talking about the 3 for $1 packets. I like top ramen. I was talking to a student here just yesterday, and he was saying that he manages to enjoy top. What he does, he had only a rice cooker in his room. He didn't have a stove or anything. He simply stuck a raw egg on he put the top ramen and a raw egg, and that's how he turned top ramen into something edible. That's something that only graduate students and postdocs still do. And yet you think you're this, everybody thinks, how many of your family think that you have this really prestigious, amazing, cool life? No? Raise your hand, I'm curious, no? Yeah. So, it ain't easy being a postdoc, even at CalTech. This is the one that killed me. When I got into Berkeley for a PhD program, I thought I was too stupid to be it. That's not good modesty, it's the truth. And the higher up you go, you will always reach your level of insecurity. So here you are at the pinnacle, literally at the ninth floor of this gorgeous view, but you're at the pinnacle of science, technology, universities in the world, Not only not a graduate, you're now risen level of postdoc, so you've risen to an even higher level. I don't think that would breed insecurity. How many of you feel insecure about your abilities? Period. Raise your hand. Right, everybody. I can only share and I pissed away, deliberately using the word, a lot of my doctoral years by being so afraid I was too stupid to be at Berkeley. And so I shut up, which is not easy for me to do on the mouth. But I didn't want my professors to know that I was too stupid. So I didn't find a mentor You know, she won this whole campus's mentorship award as the best mentor. She's a really nice person. And really, that's why I have supported it's her. Because she is spawning another generation of good scientists, no matter what their field, although my real core interest is the biological basis of cognition. I know that I'll make a bigger difference probably by supporting a person who is an excellent mentor, countless young people who do good science of all sorts. So the best way to, if I were to do it again, I would choose a graduate school and choose graduate school in part at least based on who would my advisor be. Not, they're all brilliant, that's not the issue. Who will nurture? That's the right word, really. Nurture. Not be dismiss me because I'm not quite smart. And try to make the most of me and tolerate my weaknesses. Shepherd me through something taking 7 years to get a PhD. Helps me get a good job, good internships, help me design a research agenda, but doesn't slam one down my throat. Too many professors just do few graduate students research slaves and kind of shuns them into doing their research, independent of what the student really wants. I hate that. A really good mentor puts his or her arm around you and says, let's talk about how you can flower. So that's my tip. And I accept that I'm not the smart, nobody is ever the smartest guy in the room, in all rooms. Accept that you're probably not always going to be the smartest person in the room, that you're going to say stupid things, you're going to fuck up on experiments, you're going to even do something unethical. I am listening now to the audiobook of the biography of Jennifer Doudna and the CRISPR-Cas9. There was a lot of sleaze that went on to get credit to get money. Some of it comes from insecurity, just emotional insecurity. And this is much easier for me to say than to do, but I'm gonna, and I don't think when I was young, I was wise enough to do this, but I swear to you, I can look you in the eye. I believe I would be extraordinarily ethical and collaborative. By my nature, I'm a competitive New York kid. When I was a kid, I used to love to win in basketball. And I played hard. I was never a cheater, but I would really play hard. And it was very individualistic. And I have some of that in me. And I like a balance of collaboration and cooperation. But my overall, if I was starting again, I swear to you, I would try to be part of a team that you described as your family, your workers. And I would share a lot. Not just within my institution. The world has changed. Progress in any research area must be considered a worldwide collaboration. Expertise does not reside even in a CalTech. It exists in the finest research universities and institutes all over the world. I was meeting this afternoon with an international postdoc, and the best idea he said he got from me, he's stuck. He's had too high failure rate in his experiments. I said, what have you done to try to do things better? And he said, I talked to my PI, I try to listen. I say, I want you to go home and I want you to use Google search or other research tools to identify people doing similar kind of research worldwide, whether it be at the Goethe Institute, or it be at CalTech or at MIT or at the University of Chicago, and write a polite email explaining what you're doing, and would be honored if they would be willing to chat with you, because it's not just what's in their published papers. Because by the time it comes to the published, it's too late, it's public. But whether they would chat with you about what they're grappling, he loved that idea. So my point to you is you don't need to be the smartest person in the room, but you do need to be collaborative, ethical so that you're beloved, and realize you have a world of expertise to draw on, if only you will. Some of these points are just like one of the disadvantages of having a 6-hour drive on the way down from Oakland is I had plenty of time to think. So all the stuff that I wrote in pen was stuff that I came up with as I was driving down. So there's a little bit of disjointedness, but I'm choosing rather than have pure coherence to include these ideas that I think are worthy of your time. All advice, whether it be from some professor at MIT, or Marianne, or me, or your colleagues, or your friends, need to be thought of as merely advisors. How many of you have seen The Godfather, the movie The Godfather? The Don had a consigliere, and he would listen to the advisors, and then he would make the decision. He didn't either come in saying, I'm going to do it this way or I'm not. He listened, asked questions, and he said, this is what we're doing. I want you to think of all advice, even from your PI, as at least potentially just advisory. Use your best, wisest, I like that word wise rather than smart, your wisest self to determine which you're going to say yes to, which you're going to say no to, which you're going to modify, and which you're going to meditate upon. Don't be a toady. I was so insecure. Whatever the professor said, I said hi, oh hi, how deep. No good. Respect, but not necessarily follow. I want to talk a little bit about this, the core question of basic research career or not. I think I'm being a little naive in valuing basic research so much, because I'm well aware that even at CalTech, most of the people end up putting in all these years, getting all these grants and retire, and they haven't changed the world much. They haven't even, they've closed some doors, but it can, I don't imagine that there are some basic researchers who retire and look at their back and say, was this really the right choice? It was fun, but did I make a difference? I am personally, as I've said, gravitated toward the idea of basic research, partly because it's not popular. I like to do what's not everybody else is doing. But I would be unfair to you as you're making your decision as to how basic or applied or translational you want to be very conscious of what feels right for you. There is no right answer to this question. Do you want to be more involved in translational research so that you're more likely to get funded, more likely to see the benefits of your work in your lifetime? It's a perfectly reasonable choice. We tend to deify basic research here because it's such a basic research place. And it's very worthy, as I said, I believe in it. But if you choose to be more applied, it is very worthy too. Don't feel like you've got to fall into the CalTech mindset. Industry. We live in a world, maybe especially in California and on the coasts, where industry and profit, private sector are viewed as at best a neutral and more often an evil. Money is an evil, profit is an evil. Profit's a dirty word almost. But I think a legitimate case can be made for taking a job in industry. You're going to get not only more money for yourself and your family, but you're more likely to have that instant results you want. The biggest problem I am seeing with my clients who work corporate politics. There's I mean, it is often said that universities never has been so much fighting over so little as in a university, but it's doubly true in corporate America. Everybody's fighting to get credit, trying to get a promotion. And they will often slam down their competition, and they care less about getting shit done, they care more about getting ahead. It can be yucky. But you know, and I happen to know Genentech pretty well. I've had a lot of Genentech clients. It used to be much more like a university, where Bert Boyer and his colleagues were doing really great. It was really like a university, but with a for-profit urgency. Now it's just another big bureaucratic, slow-moving entity. But it's worthy because more likely to get translational results, more likely to get good pay. Anyway, those are startups. We tend to romanticize startups. But for every one that went public and everybody, all the founders are making zillions, there are 50 that can't make the payroll and they go out of business. And there's too much emphasis on going public fast. So they tend to fudge results, push results fast. Do a lot of selling to venture capitalists and other investors. And there's no structure, I'm not a guy who likes structure, but there's no in these startups, they're just seat in the pants and things are just too disorganized often. But it's exciting. You know how many, CalTech and Google graduates are excited, the three of them, oh, we're the brilliant brain trust, we're gonna do this great idea. But the probability of success is small, and then the founders don't have the ability to scale and to grow a company. So there's no magic pill. It's just choose your poison. Basic research, companies, small corporations, startups, yeah.
So yeah, this issue of poison is interesting to me because I think, the realities of the job markets at this point are, you can be perfect. And the chance of getting a job that's a good fit for you cannot happen for years. And I think the advice that I've gotten is just, if you really want it badly enough, just wait.
No, that's why I'm stressing the importance of public speaking, because that can differentiate you.
But believe it or not, it's so bad at this point that you won't even get a chance to speak.
But even if it's a poster session, if you're a really good public speaker, it is low-hanging fruit to be a good speaker. Scientific conferences, the quality is very low. So there's the two prongs I was stressing, and I'm glad you asked it, and I want to stress it again. One of the ways, so you're not just waiting, I hate that, is give talks even at small conferences, posters, be amazing, and be lovable. Be somebody who they want to say, be collaborative, be nice, ask about, I speak with scientists and they're only can talk about their research. Share about your personal life, your relationships, your hobbies.
I know, but the chance of saying that in front of someone whose department you'd be a good fit for, who's hiring in like the 2-3 years, I mean, I completely agree with you. And I know of a lot of people who've gotten their jobs exactly the way that you're saying. I'm just wondering, and I've seen this now happen time and time again, really people who are outstanding and maybe even 10 years ago would have had an easy time, but it's the job market has tightened a lot. And so then the question becomes, how long do you keep doing this for?
I love that you keep pushing it. So
yeah.
What I might need to do now that I didn't 10 years ago is I would target the 5 or so researchers that I would most love to work in their lab or whatever. And I start a relationship. I write them an email saying, I love your work because of blah, blah, blah. I'm working on allied work because of blah, blah, blah. I also Googled you and noticed that you just had a baby. I know how challenging that can be to balance work and life. I would be honored if we could chat a bit. You're going to get mainly no responses, even to that good email. But if you send to 5, you may get 1. And even if they ignore you, the next time you give a poster at a conference where they are, or you talk to them after they've given their presentation and you ask a smart, respectful question and ask if you can walk them to their car as they're going back to the airport. That kind of an approach nothing always works. If anybody said it, clearly that is not true. But just wait. Before I gave up on my goal, rather than either give up or just wait, I would try that more assertive approach that enables you to both show your chops, but also the public speaking, and that you are a person they want to hang out with. My best shot. Is it a magic answer? No, but it's my best shot. Talk about work-life balance. I think it was Jennifer Goodman who said she hates the term. Because that implies that work is not part of life. It's the most important part of her life. She's married, she has kids. But she considers her work core to her life. Most successful people, deep down, would rather do their work than play Monopoly with their kids. Let alone clean diapers, let alone fight with their husbands. It does normally take long hours to be successful in the field like, let's say hours. So, of course, everybody's different. There are some people for whom hiking is, they love hiking, and they love, they desperately want to meet a romantic partner or have children or whatever. There's no one right way to live life. And again, it's like there's no guarantee you're going to make this huge difference in the world. It's just what it is. But don't get guilt tripped into today's zeitgeist. Got to have work-life balance. Got to be in balance. I use my cursor. Fuck that. Make your own choices to how to live your life. And it's not a lifetime commitment. It's making for this year of my life, I want to work my 70, 80 hours a week in my life because I really want to discover this, or I really want to get back a real job. No, I'm hearing my biological clock ticking. I want to have babies. Or I want to hike the Pacific Coast Trail, whatever it is. There is no right or wrong on this question, but I just want you to be conscious in every year or whatever, what the right balance is for you. Good time. Marianne mentioned I was in NPR for 30 years, and what I was known for what are called 3-minute workovers. People would call in with their career-related problem. It could be directly related to career, it could be relationships, could be their drug problem, it could be procrastination, it could be anything. And they would call and I would listen my ass off and usually ask questions, probably interrupt a bit because I knew I had to keep things confined to 3 minutes or whatever. And it's something I have had a lot of experience doing. I want you, we're going to be silent for 15, 30 seconds, whatever. Think about an issue on which you'd like me to do a 3-minute workover on you right now. Raise your hand if anybody can volunteer, of course. Like I did going with you, Betty, earlier.
You did.
That's exactly what I did.
Yeah, it was very good.
Yeah.
How do you handle unexpected situations?
Great.
Say
Give me an example.
Someone gets sick in your family, you have to take care of him or her. Takes you 5-6 months. No work, no talking at conferences. Not getting your mind into whatever you need to do to advance your career. How do you handle those things?
Of course, no easy answer, but Matteo, do you want to tell me the specific issue that came up? What was it? What stopped you for 5 minutes?
So my wife was pregnant and she was having some pain and it ended up being a birth appendix during the pregnancy. The doctor didn't diagnose her correctly, they didn't do what they needed to do. And so she had gigantic surgery and luckily now her and the baby are okay, but it was like a life-changing situation. And I literally had to stop for 5 months to take care of her.
I'm going to ask, not tell. If I will only say if my wife was pregnant, had a burst appendix, surgeries, and the recovery was 5-6 months. Is that the situation?
Yeah.
I would not quit my job. There may be days that I would have to go to the hospital, talk to the doctors, whatever. I would do my work and be there at quality time, not quantity time. But that's some people, maybe most people would not do that. Most people would feel they had to take this 6 months off. But if I could save my wife's life, of course I would, but I can't. All I can do is be a really supportive caretaker and good question asker of doctors or whatever. Get home care as needed, do whatever. And I would certainly try to, if I needed help, I would hire help right before I stopped my career. Even if I didn't have, if I didn't have money, I would use student help to the extent I could, because they're cheap. But caring, loving, responsible. That's my best. And if somebody called on the radio, of course, we could have a debate back and forth about the specifics. But in the interest of our time, I'm just presenting what is a different alternative to the understandably guilt-based feeling that, oh, my wife has just had this burst of panic and misdiagnosed. I would not quit. I would try to titrate, to use that term, my time, optimize my time, so as to give the most benefit I could to my wife without sacrificing my career. Next question.
So if, you're in this period of trying, but you're still waiting, for some opportunities, let's say in academia, but, there's also industry as a potential option.
Right.
Do you try to do everything at once?
I am
knowing that?
yes, I'm an everything at once kind of guy. There's nothing wrong with throwing a lot against the wall, seeing what sticks. You're not working 80 hours a week looking for the academic job. You're sending 5 letters, you're making a poster presentation, you're boosting your skills occasionally, so every so often. But it doesn't mean you can't use a parallel process in industry. Identify the human beings, not the companies. A human being in each company who's doing something cool that you think is compatible with you, and start that relationship building process. That's planting seeds. I would absolutely do both simultaneously, and then pick the best of. And if I got too impatient and I got a good offer from ministry, I would probably take it. Somebody else.
So in terms of international conflicts, now there's such a trend of the tension between US and certain countries. Before this was US and Russia, before this US and Japan, before this is World War II, is always like this.
That's right.
That's how to play with the game. That's how to get fundings, I think, for certain people. So how do you see the current tension of because you mentioned now we should see all the research as an international collaboration sort of sense. But for certain countries, we cannot do that because it's such a sensitive time.
If you can't, you can't. But even, you're not countries, you're individuals.
Right.
So let's say there's somebody in China that is a researcher you respect and you want to communicate with. And we have bad relations now with China or with Russia, or even with Israel. I would still write my letter. The worst thing that happens, he blows you off, you'll get a response. I don't think you look like you're Chinese.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, we can see that.
Okay, doesn't matter. Taiwanese, Chinese, no. You are you who's trying to do good work. And you have a right to politely ask for input or job from anybody. I don't care. Don't let that stand. It's like if you're an African American. If you let that stay, there are going to be people who are going to be racist and many people who are not. And some are going to be racist under certain circumstances. But you don't, if I was black and I had a son or a daughter, I would not let them stop. I would ask for what I ethically felt was right. And if they were going to be racist with me, fuck them. I wouldn't. I'm not a country. I'm not my ethnicity. I'm a human being trying to live a good life in this world and do good things. That would be my answer if you call the radio. One more of these and then we're done with that. One more question? Okay. I want you now to write one thing. We've all, as I said, we've all attended conferences where we remember nothing. It's, it's gone in memory. It becomes an ancient memory. If you can get just one thing out of this, the price was right. If you can get just one thing out of this, that would be worth it. I want you to write down one thing that you want to do, either more of, less of, or different as a result of this session. One thing you either want to do more of, less of, or differently from attending this session. Yeah, you can do this thing.
Me too.
Yeah, you can. Even if you're not 25.
Who said it? I'm 29.
Exactly. Try to remember it, put it on your refrigerator, use it as the wallpaper of your computer, make until it becomes part of you. Post it on your bathroom mirror, whatever the hell it is. Okay, before I will end with a story that I'll tell you in a minute, but I want to reiterate one thing. I am a judgmental person. And as I get old, I'm 73 now. And I'm grateful that I can still fully able to do this, which is, believe me, I don't take it for granted. You do think harder about who you respect, who you are. I respect you more than almost anybody. I love that you pursue this life of probable basic research, even if you have to, I love smart people. I love science. Like I said, I'm a techno optimist. I don't think I was smart enough to be a scientist at your level. But I respect you guys a lot, and I am privileged to be talking with you today. I'm grateful for what you do. I really feel that. Now I want to end with the story. There's a thing you can tell, and as I've said, everything that I've said here to this point has been completely custom to you. Except what I'm going to say. And it is not because I promised my father I would say it, although I did. It's because it's got a lesson that I think is particularly important these days for all of us. The year was 1939. The town was Sheriff's Poland. My father was a young man living with his parents still in a very bucolic, halcyon small town. Nobody locked their doors. And one day there was a knock on the door. And it was two Nazis in black boots. And unlike in the movies, they didn't yell. One was silent, and the other whispered. You will be out of your house with only what you can carry on your back by noon tomorrow, or else. And the next day there weren't two Nazis. There were 12. And there were two trucks. And now they weren't whispering. They went into all the Jewish households. They said, us! And they grabbed all the Jewish people and out, and they threw the very young and the old. They threw them in one truck. They threw my father in the other truck. My father never saw his parents again. He was sent to a number of work camps and finally to the Ponari death camp. How did he stay alive? In a death camp. And this was before the gas chambers had been developed. And so the way the Nazis got rid of the Jews is they simply took them and threw them in a pit and shot them to death, and then used flamethrowers to help disintegrate them. And then there were 37 men, Jews, whose job was to bury them. Now have some nice, or you'll be tomorrow. But my father and the 37 men didn't want to stand for that. They were given a spoon to eat their gruel that night. And they used the spoon to dig a tunnel under the barbed wire fence. They ran out. Most of them were shot and killed by the Nazis. But my father managed to race into the forest, where he was taken care of by the good Christians who took care of him. At the end of the war, he was dropped on a cargo boat and dropped in the Bronx, New York, without a penny to his name, no money, no English, no family, only the scars of the Holocaust tortures. What did he do? No job was beneath him. The only job he could get was sewing shirts in a factory in Harlem. And what did he do at night? Did he say, I'm a Holocaust survivor, I'm a victim, I worked my ass off all day in the factory, I'm going to get shit-faced? No. He went to Roosevelt High School Night School in the Bronx to learn English. Because he knew that if he didn't speak good English, he would forever be consigned to minimum wage. What did he do on Saturday mornings? Did he say, oh, good, now it's time to watch Saturday morning football? No, he went to the owner of the factory and said, I sold these shirts for you during the week. Can I sell them out of a cardboard box? This was 1947, so he bought them for $1 and sold them for $1.50. What do you do with the money? Time to party? Party? No. He saved up the money for the rent on the only little crappy storefront he could afford. 105 Moore Street in Brooklyn. You can use Google Maps and you'll find it's still a horrible, dangerous neighborhood. Why? Because he had met my mother in Roosevelt High School Night School. She was an Auschwitz survivor. Well, I'll just say she survived because she was beautiful. And we were living right next to the elevated train, roaring 24/7. We couldn't sleep. It was a 4th floor walk up. It was dangerous. My father wanted to get us out of there. So 105 Moore Street, tiny store. I said, dangerous neighborhood. He had to store most of the merchandise in folding tables in front of the store. On the weekends, the kids would simply race by and steal boxes of shirts, boxes of sunglasses. And 3 times in the middle of the night, we were awakened by the police. Somebody had arsoned my father's little store. And one of his customers said, they don't want Jews in this neighborhood. They don't need more white people in this neighborhood. One day, business was slow. I was a security guard. My father said, don't try to stop them, just yell at them. They'll kill you. From watching, father's business is slow, there's a party beer in front of the store. And I remember, most vivid memory of my life. I remember my elbow on one side of the party. My dad had his elbow on the other side of the party. Curved part all the time. And when you're 12 years old, you're not quite so self-absorbed. So I said, Daddy, how come you so rarely talk about the Holocaust? And he stiffened, which is something he rarely did. And he said, Martin, the Nazis took 5 years from my life. I won't give them 1 minute more. He said, Martin, never look back. Always take the next step forward. I've had the privilege of being career counselor to some of the most successful people on planet Earth, as well as some strugglers. And one of the differentiators is that the successful ones have had failures, plenty of failures, but they were far more likely to follow my father's advice. Stop looking back. Always take the next step forward. And I can leave you with no better advice. Thank you. Thank you very much.